Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. We're going to give folks a couple of minutes to join the webinar and then we'll get started. We are excited to have you all join us for Cycle the Hudson Valley in just a couple of weeks and excited to share information about the ride. We'll jump in just a little bit. We'll have an agenda. We'll have some plenty of time for question and answer at the end. We'll kind of run through what to expect and some of the basics of the tour as well as some of the major highlights along the way. Um, but really focusing on like logistics and how a PTNY run bike tour works, and as well as some of the specifics for the for Hudson Valley this year. But we'll give folks a minute or two to join and then we'll get started. I will note that we are recording this webinar, so if there's anything that you want to go back and review, if there's anything that you have some questions about, feel free to, we'll be sending out this link. We'll also send it to anybody who isn't able to join us today, just to make sure that they're able to have all the same information that you are. But by not being here, they won't be able to ask all the same questions that you all do. So I would encourage folks, there's both a chat function and a Q&A function as much as possible. If you can use the Q&A function, that just helps it be a little easier for us to keep track of the questions and which ones have and haven't been answered. If you don't see the Q&A function for on your Zoom currently, um, at the bottom of your screen, or it might be in different places for different people, but there should be a button that has three dots in a circle that says More. If you click on that button, Q&A should be one of the options within there. Um, all questions will be saved for the end. I see Jonathan just raised his hands. We're not going to do audio questions, just the number of folks on the webinar. So we do ask that everybody type their questions into chat or preferably into the Q&A. That's the answer there. But I'd also encourage you to save questions until the end because the two questions that I see in here already are going to be covered in the presentation. So let's see what we explained for you already, and then any questions we don't answer, we'll have time to get into at the end. Um, I think we can get started. It looks like we got a good number of us in here already. And as we said, those that aren't yet on the webinar, it will be recorded for them. So um, Erica, if you can click to the next slide. Here's the agenda that we'll cover. We're going to just do some quick introductions, but then mostly talk about the ride, what to expect on what we call day zero. That's Monday, August 3rd, when we'll all arrive in Troy to get started and get ready to ride starting the following day. What to expect at camp on any given day, what to expect while you're out riding during the day, the finish line when we finish our adventure in Brooklyn on August 8th. And then we'll have that time for questions and answers of anything that we don't cover throughout this presentation. So moving into our introductions. Um, so I'm in the middle of this slide. I'm Dylan Carey. I'm Director of Policy and Planning for Parks and Trails New York. I'll be along on the tour with all of you. I won't be riding, unfortunately, this year. I will be helping out, making sure that everything runs smoothly. I'll be there to help answer questions, as I will be on this webinar today, as well as to speak with anybody who's interested about the work that PTNY does and how your presence on this tour helps advocate for New York's public lands. But I'll turn it over to Rob now to introduce himself.
Hey there, I'm Rob Panzara, the tour director. This is my actually third year running the tour, and previously was just on Cycle the Erie Canal, my second year leading that tour. Looking forward to a great year this year. We have an increased number of people, which is great. We're going to be celebrating America 250, some Revolutionary War history, looking towards the Hudson Valley painters. So there's a lot to see in the Hudson Valley, and we're excited to kick off the Hudson Valley tour on August 3rd.
All right. And Julia, if many of you may have already interacted with Julia, but Julia, if you want to introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, hi guys. I am registration manager. This is my first season with Parks and Trails New York. So I've been learning about these amazing tours alongside you guys. I hope that if you've interacted with me, it's been helpful. And if not, I am the main person behind the Cycle Tours email address.
So it's been great to have Julia's support in answering all of your questions as well as Rob's work to make these tours happen. So let's jump right in. Um, so just before we get started, a quick overview of Parks and Trails New York, because by being on Cycle the Hudson Valley, you are supporting PTNY's work. We are a nonprofit organization. We are not state parks. We are an independent nonprofit, and we're an advocate for New York's public lands. By being on the tour, you are helping to support our efforts to fight to make sure that public lands are for all. We advocate for building out the state's network of greenway trails, advocating for closing gaps in the Empire State Trail, supporting Friends of State Parks, and much more. In fact, if you want to hear about the much more, we will be having a presentation on day zero after dinner when we all arrive in Troy on Monday, August 3rd, where I and potentially some of my colleagues will be able to share some information about the work that PTNY does to support New York's public lands. Next slide. So, just a quick overview of the ride from a top level and from who's going to be joining us this year on the ride. This is the fourth year that we've done Cycle the Hudson Valley. We revived the ride back in 2023. It had previously there had been a ride that PTNY had hosted in the Hudson Valley under some different names over the years. But with the completion of the Empire State Trail in 2020, we felt that the time was ripe to revive this ride and explore some of the great trails that the Hudson Valley has to offer. We'll cover about 230 miles total from Troy to New York City over 5 days. And I'll get into the route in just a minute here. And just a quick snapshot of who's going to be riding with us this year. We have about 175 registered riders as well as 65 volunteers. On top of that, we'll also have folks from Comfy Campers, the tent rental service that some folks are able to use. You can see about 60% of us are male, 41% identify as female. Our median age is about 65. Our oldest rider for the tour this year is once again, we have an 86-year-old who's joining us for Cycle the Erie Canal, or Cycle the Hudson Valley. Sorry, we just finished a whole week of being on Cycle the Erie Canal, so I have Erie Canal on my mind. But 86 for Cycle the Hudson Valley, and our youngest rider is 22. We've got folks from 26 states who are represented among the riders registered for this year's tour. So next slide. And I mentioned that route. So we're going to cover those 230 miles over 5 days. We will generally follow the route of the Empire State Trail, with the only diversions off the route to allow us to get to our overnight locations. We'll spend the first night in Troy at Hudson Valley Community College, and then subsequent nights in Hudson at Columbia Green Community College, in Stone Ridge at Ulster County Community College. We like community colleges. They're a good welcome host for us. It's a good place to fit 175 riders and 65 volunteers camping for the night. We'll stay the end of our third night. We will be in Putnam County at Putnam Veterans Park in Carmel. Our final night will be at Dobbs Ferry at the Master School, and then we'll finish in Brooklyn on our fifth day of riding at Strong Rope Brewery in Brooklyn. So moving on. So, Rob, I'll turn it over to you to talk about luggage.
We can get the next slide. That'd be great. Thank you. Yeah, so part of the logistics of this is moving you guys, and a big part of that is getting your stuff from place to place while you bike. So, just some key things. You want to keep it 2 to 3 bags per person, each bag 40 pounds. We recommend if you got the sleeping bag and the tent and the pillow, get that into a bag, just so it's all together, and then your luggage in another bag or two. We don't allow bungee cords just because people like try to strap things, and if those bungee cord breaks or they come apart, they could swing off and injure one of our luggage people. The hooks on them are fairly dangerous, so no bungee cords. And we do our best to keep the luggage dry. But we have so much luggage, we have to let put tarp
So Rob's
over it. But
connection.
really recommend that you put your stuff in the bags. Did you lose
Sorry,
me?
Rob, your connection's breaking up on us a little bit here. So, yeah, just a little
Oh, I
bit.
apologize.
I think what you're saying is basically we do our best to make sure that we keep luggage dry. We will have to lay it out at times. We'll cover it with tarps if there is some threat of rain, and we'll do our best. But we do, if you do have any kind of luggage that has like waterproof or water resistant capacity, We do encourage you to use those. We also encourage you to use soft side luggage whenever possible. It's just easier for us to fit it in our trucks and to make sure that it all packs together safely for the ride. Um, so do you have anything to add on top of that, Rob?
No,
I don't know
that's what I was
if your
getting to.
internet's
If you have
back
water
with us as
resistant
well.
luggage.
Or
Are you able to hear me?
awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just I was just agreeing. Yeah, if you have water resistant luggage, that is the way to go. That's what I use as well.
Awesome. All right, next slide. So, some packing tips. These are some things that past riders of either Cycle the Erie or Cycle the Hudson Valley have recommended. We do sleep sort of all in sort of close proximity to one another. So, I know personally I use earplugs whenever I'm on, tent, sleeping in a tent on our tours. Folks may also choose to bring an eye mask. Um, we do have showers that are in locker rooms, and we'll talk about the shower situation in just a little bit. So, a tip is to bring some shower shoes and a bag for carrying just the items that you'll need from your tent to those showers. Sunscreen. We're out biking all day. The sun, hopefully we'll have a fully sunny week for us to ride in. I know sometimes when things get dusty, spray sunscreen is great to cut down on like sunscreen running into your eyes or anything. So make sure you're packing sunscreen. And of course, if folks have other suggestions for tips, we welcome you to add those into the chat, or we'll have some time for some Q&A at the end. Moving on to the next slide. So day zero, again, this is what we referred to. Day zero is the day we'll arrive in Troy. That's Monday, August 3rd. So what to expect? What's the schedule for that day? Rob, do you want to talk through the shuttle and then maybe I can talk through the other pieces?
Sure, if you guys can hear me. If you're coming from New York, you're going to arrive at 34th Street and Ninth Avenue, and we'll send you the direct link for the few who have chosen that mode of transportation. There's no long-term parking. You're basically showing up with your luggage and yourself and your bike, and it leaves from 11 a.m. and arrives in Troy around 2 to 2:30. And then you
Awesome.
arrive in for check-in. You want to continue with that, Dylan?
Um, your internet's keep seeming
All
like it's
right.
going, so keep going while it's working.
Okay, so you check in at Hudson Valley Community College. It's 1:30 to 4:30. There'll be an info table under the rotunda. It's an outdoor atrium area that's covered. We'll have official Hudson Valley merchandise on sale from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And if you have to do late check-in, you can do it the following morning. So August 3rd is the Monday, August 4th, 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. That evening at Hudson Valley, we have a social. It's appetizers from 4 p.m. And then dinner is 5 to 7 p.m. And every night dinner is 5 to 7 p.m. on the dinner nights that we provide. And then we'll have opening remarks during the last half of dinner starting at 6 p.m. to orient you on the tour and get you ready to go.
I'll add that we also will have some safety briefings that day at 3 p.m. And at 4 p.m. And as I mentioned, we'll have an informational presentation from PTNY after dinner. Yeah, and I see there's a question as well about a pre-ride. That is still something we are working on finalizing the details on the pre-ride. It may just be a ride on your own, in which case we will share out a ride with GPS link for folks to explore. But we'll get into that in a bit. The next slide, please. So, what to expect at camp? What will we have there? Um, so Rob, if you want to take this, go from here.
Sure. So luggage at camp, each truck is numbered. So in the morning, you put your luggage onto a truck with a number, and you remember that number because that's where your luggage will be laid out in the afternoon. Um, Same truck every day is a good idea. So you don't,
Yeah,
instead of one or two or three, you know what you're doing each day. When you get to camp, you look for the lawn signs for truck one, for example, and you'll find your luggage in a line. And help make your bags easy to identify. A lot of people put a ribbon or something colorful on there because there's always a lot of black bags, for example, or suitcases that are soft-sided. So a ribbon of various colors is usually helpful in finding your luggage quickly in the pile.
yeah. Next slide.
For meals, what's included? Breakfast is from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. every day. We usually try to get coffee in a little bit earlier if we can, no promises, but it's nice if the coffee's ready before 6. And then during the day on your ride, you have 2 rest stops each day, spaced out. We try to do our best to space one in the first third and one in the last like second third or so. We try to space them out so they're equal from camp in some way, shape, or form. And then we have three provided dinners, and the three dinners that we have are at Hudson, um, Carmel, and sorry, I'm
Troy.
slipping on them. Thank you,
Troy.
Troy.
Yeah.
Still a little bit of Erie Canal myself. The ones we don't have are Stone Ridge and Dobbs Ferry. There's dinner on your own that night. And so we have shuttles to get you to town. And actually, when you're in Stone Ridge, there's actually a kind of a side trail you could take actually into town. But we also provide shuttles if you don't want to walk. And lunch every day is on your own. And that's to encourage you to go into the towns to explore them. The rest stops are amply packed, but with food. But it's nice for you to go into towns and check things out and eat lunch on your own to explore the trail.
Yep. All right.
Camping. So tent setup. Comfy Campers sets up usually first. They're kind of the keystone because they have a grid pattern. And then you camp wherever you can. We'll put up signs that say no camping. So usually we're all in the same area, but people kind of spread out and find places to go. And if there's a no camping sign, you don't camp. But otherwise, you set up your tent where you want to set up. There is indoor camping at some select sites, and that might be on another slide. And that's usually in a variety of things from indoor gyms to community rooms. And I know at Carmel, it's essentially like an enclosed pavilion. So there's a variety of indoor camping available. And by that, I mean, it's your pad and your sleeping bag and pillow. That's pretty much it. No tents inside. Charging, we have stations. You can see a good visual of the charging station there. We put them up throughout camp. This way you can plug in your devices, not your e-bikes. This is more for your phones, your iPads, your computers. We have a separate e-bike charging area.
And to answer a question that we've gotten about the charging stations, and hopefully this picture demonstrates that you do need to bring your plug and your cord, your own charging support, but we will provide these setups that have power strips and then a little like it's basically like a shoe bag that you would put your device in while it's charging. And you can leave it there. We do recommend if are leaving a device, or especially if you're leaving like an external battery pack to charge, that you put something with your name on it, just so that it can be identified. All right, next slide.
We have mechanics support. It's available. It's fee-based, but very reasonable. They do their best to keep it parts and labor to a reasonable price. And they're at camp in the morning, usually at the AM rest stop, and then at camp at night. And if they can get to PM, they do as well. We have medical services along with us. These are volunteers, and they man the booth daily, the info booth from 4 to 6 p.m. every day, and then they can be reached out to at certain times, but they're also riding as well. So, we do our best to reach out. Obviously, if there's a major emergency, we use local emergency services such as 911, and hopefully there's none of that. Um, Listed are the showers. We have locker rooms in Troy, Hudson, Stone Ridge, and Dobbs Ferry. We have a shower truck at Carmel at Veterans County Park. It's very nice, actually. It's a shower trailer with individual stalls. And we have that there because that's more of an outdoor park. It's actually very beautiful with outdoor pavilions, so there's no locker rooms there.
Rob, before we move on, just a couple of questions about showers that I'm seeing come in.
Sure.
Are showers available in the morning for use as well?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
So yeah, locker rooms will be open in the evening to a certain time, and then in the morning they'll be open as well as camp wakes up.
Will there be any showers at the finish line?
No, we do not have showers at the finish line. We're finishing at Strong Rope Brewery, which is in a kind of an industrial area of Red Hook, and there's not showers available. There is, which is very nice. They have a lot of space at the Strong Rope. There'll be changing rooms. You can certainly change. There's ample bathrooms and also changing rooms.
And then are towels provided at the showers?
No, bring your own towel. Bring your own toiletries and towels,
Yeah.
so you can take showers.
What I'll note is that if you have purchased the tent service through Comfy Campers, they do provide a towel for you every day. They also have a limited number of additional towel service package that you can provide. I'm not sure if they still have that available or not. You would need to check Comfy Campers' website. That's an independent operation that runs alongside our tour, but is they run independently. And then a question that's related to the bike mechanics and something at camp. Do we have bike pumps available for folks to use every day at camp?
Yes, we put them by the info tent. So we have a bunch, hand pumps for people to pump. And then also we started this on here this time. We have lube, like chain lube too, with rags. And I should also add that we have a bike wash station each day. At the end, and by bike wash, it's really a hose. It's a hose with a bucket, and you can rinse off your bike if you'd like to. So,
Awesome. All right. Moving on to the next slide. So, what to expect on the ride itself, and I think I will talk through these. Um, so each morning we have a morning briefing. That'll be at 6:30 a.m. It'll be Rob and myself getting up and sharing what to expect on the ride that day, some key information about things that might be happening at camp that evening. I'll be sharing information about the route itself and what are some of the key things to see along the way. What are some, potential safety concerns that folks should be aware of. We will be hosting those morning briefings where breakfast is hosted. We're not going to try and compete with food in the morning or with coffee in the morning. We bring the information to the people. So those will be at 6:30 every morning. We do provide information about the route that we'll be following every day. The ride with GPS routes are available on our website now. If you go to our website to the page for Cycle the Hudson Valley, you can find those informations. And Erica, I should mention our colleague Erica Schneider, who is unfortunately not going to be able to join us on the tour this year, is advancing the slides for us and helping us out with that. So, Erica, if you can provide the link to the itinerary page for Cycle the Hudson Valley in the chat, if folks haven't seen that yet. What I will note is that we are going to do one last pass through the ride with GPS routes just to make sure that there's no funky directions that are in there. Sometimes ride with the GPS will just say like turn left, turn right, and not provide enough information. So we're just going to review those over the next few days just to make sure that they're 100% final, ready to go, because we want to make sure you guys can just focus on enjoying the riding. The route will be fully marked as well. We use the Dan Henry marks, generally like a circle with a line to indicate if you're going straight, and then a circle with a line, and then a line over to indicate if you'll be turning left or right. Um, we have some paper cue sheets available each day. We are really working to try to minimize the amount of paper available or that we rely on tour. So if you're comfortable doing so, we encourage you to stay digital, but we will have those paper cue sheets available for those who would prefer to have something physical in hand to look at. Um, as Rob mentioned, we have two rest stops every day on tour. We'll have things like snacks and beverages available. You'll be able to refill your water bottles. A couple of key notes. When you arrive at a rest stop, the first thing you'll need to do is to get off your bike. But the second thing you'll need to do is to take your gloves off. Take off your gloves, wash your hands. We'll have hand sanitizer there. If there is a place to wash your hands, we do encourage folks to do that. That's because we don't want your sweaty gloves going in to grab the same food that everybody else is going. We want to make sure that folks are able to stay healthy throughout the week and enjoy the ride. We will also have a mechanic on site at each of the rest stops. They're not going to necessarily be equipped to do a full rebuild of your bike during a rest stop on tour. They're just there to help make sure that you can keep going. They want to keep you on your bike as much as possible, and we want to see the same thing. Next slide. The other thing we really want to focus on and really highlight is safety. Again, we want to make sure everybody is able to enjoy riding on Cycle the Hudson Valley. So we'll have a safety briefing on day 0 of just the basics, things to know about riding in a large group. There is, about 200 of us that'll be riding on any given day together. However, the trails remain open for general use. So this safety briefing will cover things about how to communicate with other riders, how to make sure that you're being a safe and considerate user of the trail that is a fully publicly usable trail. And I'll mention that especially as we're in the northern end, that we may be most of the users on the trail. When we get to New York City, we won't be. Those trails in New York City, the Hudson River Valley Greenway, the Hudson River Trail in Manhattan, that's the most heavily used Greenway trail in the US. So we will not be the most riders on the trail. So just ensuring that you know how to ride in a group in a setting where there are others using a trail is key. And a lot of that comes down to communication. So we'll be covering that in the safety briefings on day zero, how to communicate about what it is that you're doing to make sure that the folks behind you know what to expect. And the other thing about safe cycling is not just about the sort of traditional safety and around not hitting others and not being hit by others, but it's also about your physical health, making sure that you stay fully hydrated, making sure that you eat enough. We don't want anybody to bonk while they're out riding. We did have some folks on our Erie Canal ride just last week that didn't pay enough attention, didn't get enough fuel in them, and they ended up having to be sagged into camp each day. And I'll talk about sag support in just a minute here. So making sure that you're eating enough, that you've got that fuel in you to continue the ride, that's a critical piece of it because you're paying to be here and to ride with us for the week, and we want to make sure that you're spending as much of that time as possible actually riding. Um, and so SAG support. SAG stands for support and gear. We will have both bicycle SAGs and car SAGs along with the tour. Bike SAGs will be interspersed throughout the riders each day, as well as we'll have bike SAGs as our sweeps. Sweeps are the last folks on the trail. They'll be following the route. They'll make sure that everybody is getting into the route safely. If you go way off the route, they won't necessarily know that, so they may go past you. But if you're on the route, they will make sure that you're able to get into camp safely. We also have car sags who, if you're for whatever reason unable to keep riding at any given point, they will advance you forward to the next, either to the next rest stop or to camp for the following night. They work hard. These are volunteers that are volunteering their time, so they'll do their best to help keep you moving. Bike sags are generally able to get to you a lot quicker and help you if you need to get to a trailhead. That's so a place that CarSag is able to pick you up. And we'll share all of this information on day zero at the opening meeting as well. But one thing I would encourage all of you to do now is to see that phone number that is on the slide. That is the phone number for our CarSag lead, John Lawler. I would encourage all of you to take that number, that 315-730-6806, and add it into your phone now. If you have any problem on tour, you're going to share your location with John Lawler. And we'll have tech support folks on tour at day zero and in the morning of day one who will be able to provide you some support on how to access a ride with GPS files as well as how to share your location. But make sure you know how to share your location before you need to do it. If you're out on the trail, you're sweaty, maybe you got hurt a little bit, you're a little, discombobulated, that shouldn't be when you're figuring out how to share your location for the first time. You should know how to share your location so that if you do need to do it, it's something that's more routine. You're able to do it pretty easily and comfortably. What I'll note as well is that SAG is not a shuttle service, though. We do encourage folks to ride if you're able. We will prioritize those highest priority calls for our car SAGs if there's any kind of injury concern or anything. So you're here on Cycle the Hudson Valley, and so we want to have you riding as much as you are able to do so. All right, so next slide. Something that's new this year on Cycle the Hudson Valley, something we're excited about, is that we have introduced theme days. We encourage folks to follow these themes and to, show your pride and be part of riding with the group. Day one is State Day. This is a great chance for us to learn about where everybody's from. So if you've got a cycling jersey or a shirt that you want to wear that reps where you're from, whether that's your state, your hometown, some landmark, your alma mater, something that's, distinctive about your state. Maybe it's a ride. If you're from Iowa, maybe you've got a RAGBRAI jersey. If you're from Louisiana, maybe you've got a Cycle Zydeco jersey or something that just shows off where you're from. That's a great way for us and for everybody on tour to get a sense of who all the folks that we're riding with for the week are. On day three, we're going to be celebrating the bicentennial. Or not the bicentennial, the semi-sesquicentennial, I believe is the right term, America's 250th. So break out your red, white, and blue, wear your patriotic gear. If you've got like a historic, like a period costume to wear, that would be pretty cool to see. Anything to really celebrate the 250th of the country. And then on the last day, as we're coming into New York City, that's the day to rock your CTHV jersey, rock your PTNY gear. We'll have merch available for sale during the week. Any day that we have dinner at camp, we'll also have merch for sale at camp. So that'll be day zero in Troy, Day one in Hudson and day three in Carmel. We'll have merch for sale those days. So day five is the day to rock your CTHV or your PTNY Pride and wear those jerseys as you hit the finish line in Brooklyn. And the finish line. What a perfect segue. I didn't even know we intended it that way. But the finish line in Brooklyn, what to expect. So, as Rob mentioned, we're going to be at Strong Rope Brewing in Red Hook, Brooklyn. Um, That'll be where those who aren't taking the shuttle back to Troy will be able to be picked up and have their luggage picked up. We'll have a luggage truck that goes to Brooklyn that day. If you are taking the shuttle back to Troy, though, what we encourage you to do is to just put what you need for that day, either with you or on that truck, luggage truck to Brooklyn, and put anything you won't need on. We'll have one of the luggage trucks that just goes directly back to Troy. The finish line does close at 2 p.m. sharp. We're not going to leave any unsupervised luggage sitting there, though. If you've got luggage that's sitting there when the finish line closes at 2, it's going back to Troy with us. So we do encourage folks to make sure you've grabbed your luggage by at 2 p.m. and that you've secured it. We will have a bike corral, a place to leave your bike while you're, maybe grabbing a beer at the brewery, exploring the shores of New York Harbor. Um, and as soon as the trucks are ready, if you're taking the shuttle back to Troy, you'll be able to load your bike directly onto the truck. You don't have to wait for the buses to show up to load your bike on. And once your bike's loaded, you can forget about it until you get back to Troy. For the return shuttle, you'll be able to check in for that between 1 and 1:45. The shuttles will depart at 2. Check-in will work if you've purchased a ticket, and if you're not sure about your registration, feel free to reach out to Julia. We have been reaching out to folks who have not yet reserved a shuttle seat. So if you have reserved a shuttle seat, and you won't necessarily have gotten an email from us about that. You'll check in for your shuttle. We'll have a list of everybody that's registered. We'll give you a ticket. You'll need to hold on to that ticket and then give it back to us when you get on the shuttle. That way we know that everybody who has registered and who has checked in actually gets on the buses. Those shuttles will depart at 2. They will hit the road and they will go straight to Troy. Rob, are they going to make a stop along the way?
No, it's just directly through because it's
Yeah,
only
so
like
that,
a little over 2.5 hours, maybe 3. So you get there around 5 p.m.
yeah. So I know we did have some questions there um, about the shuttle. So a couple of things, and about the finish line, a couple of questions I'm going to ask. Um,
I know one is can people if you need to be picked up, like if someone's coming in a car to pick you up, um, there's street parking, I would say, but it's really you're probably going to want to pull into the parking lot and load up and go for the most part. There's not essentially long-term parking, so it's up to someone to find street parking in the area, um, which is a bit better than last year. Last year we had pretty limited parking by the park. There'll be a little bit more here, but it'll probably be just someone lets you know they're on their way, and then you come out and they pull up, and you have a place to pull over. There's plenty of room, and then they can just load up and go.
awesome. Um, all right. So
There's
let's move
another, I see
on.
another
Oh, go
shuttle
ahead.
question actually about NYC shuttle in the thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, NYC parking, I think we said earlier, I believe it leaves at 11. We can maybe go back to that slide. Is there enough room to park and unload? It's a pretty wide street again, where it's a New York City street right in Midtown West there. So you'll have room to pull up. It's in front of it's like actually a parking facility, an outdoor parking facility. Yeah, it leaves at 11 a.m. to board and leaves at 11:30. That's what the slide said, and I'll agree with that. So yeah, but it's not someplace you can park and hang out unless you want to find street parking. But there'll be a place to pull up and get your stuff out and get sorted.
And I'll just reiterate that we do not have long-term parking available in New York City for this ride. But that is a place that you can get dropped off. Um, let's moving on then. So just a couple of last minute things, just to finish up, and then we'll dive right into the rest of the questions that folks have. If there is any kind of an issue along the way, if there's anything that we need to notify you about, we will use our rained out system. And despite the name being rained out, we'll use it for any kind of mass notification. To sign up for rained out, text CTHV to the number 84483, as you can see on the slide. Then you'll be added to our list of folks. And whenever we have an email or a notification that we need to send out to everybody, we will do that. I believe it can send it by text or by email. So if you text CTHV 26 to 84483, that'll sign you up for text messages. So we do encourage everybody to sign up to receive those notifications in case there's any, critical information we need to pass on to folks. And then next slide. So this is a party. We're having fun. This is all of you are on vacation while you're doing this. We're not. We're working the whole week. It's a pretty nice job to be working the whole week supporting a bike tour, I will say. But we want all of you to enjoy the ride and to share the photos. I know a lot of folks take great photos along the way. I would encourage you, if you've not yet done so, to join our Cycle the Hudson Valley Facebook group and to share information, photos that you take during the day, anything that you see on there. If you do so, you might be featured on one of PTNY's social media channels. Um, and you can use the hashtag Cycle the Hudson Valley. So share those, and it's a great way to be excited about the ride. All right, and the next slide, I think we are into the question and answer period. So yeah, so I will direct a lot of these questions to you, Rob, because I think a lot of them are good for you. Um, and
Okay.
so let's jump right in. So the first question here is about
All
swimming.
right.
Is there swimming available at any of the overnight locations?
It's a bit limited this year. Unfortunately, we had a pool at New Paltz last year. I hope you can all still hear me. I
Yeah,
apologize
you're
for the.
back now.
Okay, sorry about that. This year we'll have at Carmel. There's actually a lake at the bottom, the lower part of our campsite, and that's where the swimming will be. But no pools this year. No.
Um, so for campsites, I have a couple of different questions here about campsites. Sometimes there's bright security lights at schools. Will we have dark campsites available?
Most campsites do have some kind of security lighting. I recommend if that's an issue to have an eye mask. I find in the tent it's not too bad. When we're in Carmel, though, that's actually more of a park, so that's probably our darkest site in terms of it being dim at night.
And at each night, we'll have specific areas that are blocked off that don't allow camping. There'll be an area that is for the comfy campers, tents to be set up. And then there'll be a sort of a wide array of different spaces for folks to set up tents on their own. So just as you're picking a site, keep an eye, if you're worried about darkness, try to keep an eye out for where the lights are. I personally made that mistake one year. I was like, oh, this is a great site. I'll be kind of away from everybody. Didn't look up. There was a bright light right above me. Didn't get as much sleep as I would have liked.
Mhm.
So now I know that whenever I'm looking for a campsite, I'm always looking for where those lights are. Another question about the campsites. Is there a central fire pit or other gathering area, or do things wind down quickly? What are the evenings generally like?
There's no fire pit. We're staying at sites where there's no, it's not really, I wouldn't say it's campsites. We call it camp because that's where we camp. As mentioned, our community, there's schools, it's a private school, it's a community school. And the one county park is not, you can't have a fire in the county park. But most people hang out, either we have catering tents up or pavilions, and a lot of people hang out there. That's kind of like the central locations. And dinner is a very social time. It runs for 2 hours, and after dinner is very social. And a lot of times we'll have music, live music after dinner, so people just gather around and listen to music.
A question about charging lights that I can answer. When we talked about those charging stations, those are plugs that are open. If you want to plug in some lights to charge, you can do it. What we do ask is that you keep an eye on your stuff and don't leave it there after it's full. Folks, there at times there has been some demand for available space. Those fill up. Generally, we do have more than enough charging capacity for the things people have, but if you're bringing 100 things and trying to charge them all every night, then you won't make too many friends. But yeah, absolutely, you can plug in your lights and charge them at our charging stations. Will ice be available at the starter at rest stops?
We have ice water in the afternoon and the evening, and then we have a cooling system that we use for the PM rest stop, but we generally don't have ice for grabbing along the way. We do recommend if you stop for lunch somewhere to grab ice if it's a hot day. We also, if it's very hot, we have misting tents. We can set up a misting tent at the PM rest stop and at the finish as well. But yeah, we have a nice system of ice water that you can grab at the end.
A question about ticks. There's been some articles about ticks in the last 6 weeks. Should folks be concerned about safety around
Um,
ticks?
I don't know if you have big concerns, but we are camping in fields and we are in the Northeast. So if it is a concern, I would suggest bringing some off. And it's really around the legs. We're not going through any tall grass. Everything we're on is mowed pretty well because we're camping. And then, you're at you're at a community college, so it's cut grass. You're walking on pads mainly. But if you're concerned, I would say long pants and some, whatever your preferred insect repellent is on that around the ankles and legs.
Another question about doing a daily head count. Do we have a way of that we track riders coming in?
We don't. I mean, it's such a vast thing, and people come in at different times, and like people stop to eat, they go into town. Everyone has a wristband though. And so we have breakfast and dinner check-in, and it's not someone with a checklist of every name. But I do recommend having a buddy just to make sure. Obviously, no tents are left behind. We like we clean
Yeah.
the campsite, for example. But out on the trail, I recommend having a buddy or communicating if you're concerned.
Yeah. And what I'll say as well is if you're concerned about it, if you get to the info tent, Rob and I will both be on tour the whole time. If you want to get if you want to get my phone number, I'm happy to share
Thank you.
that with you. And if it's something where you want to like let us know if you're not able to get into camp or if you're still out on the trail,
Mhm.
we're happy to make sure that we're keeping track of you. And again, John Lawler, the car SAG, they're more than accommodating and making sure that everybody gets to camp safely.
I'll add this too. Besides the car sag, which obviously is on the road and it's hard to be on trail, they definitely monitor crossings. And then we have bike sag, which is an integral part of our tour. And that's people who are within you riding every day. And we always have a sweep. And there's one or two people that sweep, and they're the last ones on the road. Now, if you duck into a cafe when they go by and they miss you, that could be tricky. But they try to leave camp later. They leave later than everybody, and they try to leave late. This way, they're sweeping people up. So along the way, if you're kind of towards the back, they should basically have everyone into camp and know who's out there.
And they generally or the route closes for our perspectives at about 5 p.m. So generally they plan to get into camp at about 5 p.m.
And I'd say the other, I mean, just to continue on this idea of accounting, the other accounting we have is luggage. Like
Yeah,
if your bag's sitting there at 7 p.m. and you're not there, we'll likely give you a call and be like, your luggage is here. Where are you?
yeah.
So,
A handful of questions here that I'll just kind of jump in and answer myself. First is where and when do we pick up a pre-purchase jersey? You'll get that pre-purchase jersey at registration check-in. Um, that will be something when you check in, we will have a note on your registration packet that says whether or not you've already purchased a jersey. And if you have, we will hand that jersey to you. What percentage of the trail is paved versus gravel? It's almost entirely paved. The only stretch that is still unpaved, there's a couple of very small stretches between Hudson and Kingston, but the biggest stretch is the Wallkill Valley Rail Trail, which is about 17 miles between Kingston and New Paltz. We'll ride across that actually, we'll do part of it on day 2 as we head to Stone Ridge, and part of it on day 3 as we head from Stone Ridge to Carmel. But that's really the only stone dust sections of trail. The rest of it is paved either on road or on trail. Can we pay for things with Apple Pay or do we need cash for anything? So for at PTNY's merch tent, we're happy to accept Apple Pay or cards. Um, Most of the places you'd stop along the way I would expect will likely take card. We of course can't guarantee that for everywhere. There may be some cash only businesses that are along the way that you try to stop at. Um, but yeah, the PTNY's merch, we will accept Apple Pay or cards. Um, a question, actually, I'm going to leave this question for a little bit later. A couple of questions about bikes going on the trucks. First, do we need to turn our own handlebars 90 degrees for transport, or do we need to have our own wrench? So for that one, we will have folks there able to help you turn your handlebars. You do need to turn them 90 degrees for transport, just how we hang them. on the bike trucks, and we will also have folks when they arrive back in Troy to turn them back. Rob, can you speak if folks are taking the August 3rd shuttle? Is that the same setup? Do they need to turn them?
No, for
Oh, Rob's
August
Rob's
3rd, we have
internet.
a limited.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry,
I
I
think you're back now.
apologize. Yeah, I don't know why, but we'll have moving blankets. They don't need to turn their bars for the August 3rd shuttle.
And then a couple of questions about uh, move transport for the August 8th shuttle. How are the bikes protected, or do we have any materials to wrap around them for transport?
We don't wrap them. We hang them up by their wheel and we space them out. This way they're kind of away from each other, and that's how we hang them. They're basically straight up attached by their wheel to the side of the truck.
Awesome. Um, a question about a CPAP machine, if that can be accommodated at indoor facilities.
So the couple ways I've seen it done is yes, if they could plug it in, and then a lot of people have a battery. I've seen that too, like a battery pack that goes with it. But if you're indoors at a gym and you find a plug, then that's probably the way most people go. But people try to figure that out. But
Yeah. Question about what happens to the bikes each night. Do you lock them up at campsites?
yes, bring a lock and put a lock in your bag. And then if you plan on doing stuff off trail, which you should have some kind of light lock to lock it during the day. Really, bike theft, I think, is like an opportunity situation. I don't think people are like going around looking for bikes usually. So I think the idea is just to have a basic lock to make sure someone doesn't, see your bike as an easy pickup.
And in a lot of places, there will be like a fence or something you can lock to, but that won't always be the case. We do encourage you to, if that's not the case, either lock it to another bike or sometimes even just locking it to itself so that you can't turn the wheels. That'll be enough to be a deterrent. Most of the time, we are, yeah, I think four of the nights we're sort of in suburban or rural areas that are a little bit more removed, but in Dobbs Ferry, we're a little bit more sort of in the middle of things. So we're not like the bikes aren't right out on a main street at any point, except for during the day if you're stopping and getting food. But at the overnights, always safer to lock them and just to be sure. Um, are there bathrooms on the bus back to Troy?
Yeah, these are motor coaches, like 52 or 55 passenger motor coaches. You see Greyhound style. So yes.
Yeah. The last day shuttle at Hudson brings riders back to Hudson Valley. I can just answer that. Yes, the last day shuttle will bring folks back to Hudson Valley. That's where we're bringing luggage and cars. One thing to note about Hudson Valley is that there are surface parking lots that you can park in during that day like when you're dropping stuff off, to unload your bike, to unload your luggage. But any car left in long-term parking, you'll need to check in at the info table and get a parking pass to put on your windshield for the week. And then you will need to bring your car into the garage, the parking garage that's just next door to where we park. There'll be directions on site of how to do that, but do make sure that you are getting that parking pass from us when you check in. And parking at Troy is something that you will have purchased ahead of time. We will have a QR code if you haven't purchased it and you do need to add it to your registration. We will have a QR code available for you to do it on site, but we do encourage that folks purchase it ahead of time so we're not sort of showing up and having way more cars to park than our hosts are expecting. Um, a question about vegetarian food. Yes, we do have vegetarian food. And Rob, do you want to speak to some of the other dietary restrictions and how we're accommodating that?
Yeah, so when you filled out your registration, you indicated any dietary guidelines for us, and there's always vegetarian options. If we have vegans in the group, we accommodate them as well. Gluten-free, dairy-free. We try to have a myriad of options for folks, and we only indicate basically you have one wristband if you're going to eat everything, and then you have another one that's vegetarian. But then we have things, for example, for available for different meals. For example, so for breakfast we have like dairy-free milks. We usually have oat milk or soy milk or almond milk. That's a good example, but we try to accommodate everybody.
Question about bathroom facilities along the route. Will they be noted? We do have bathrooms that are available at all of our rest stops, but other than that, no. A lot of times there will be camps along the, or, like parks along the way or other things, but it really will vary from stretch of trail to stretch of trail, where bathroom facilities are noted. We do encourage you, if you stop and get lunch, take advantage of it. If you, see a museum that you want to stop in at, we do encourage you to stop along the way at museums and other points of interest and take advantage of their facilities while you're there. And like I said, we do have the bathroom facilities at each of our rest stops. A lot of times that'll be a porta potty. But beyond that, there's no notation of additional bathroom facilities. A question about the non-paved sections of trail, if road bikes are fine. That's really down to personal preference. I've ridden them with 32 millimeter tires. I think that's been entirely fine with slicks. Um, Obviously, we can't predict exactly the weather. They've had some issues with some storms that have knocked down a lot of the, knocked down branches and stuff, and that's made it a little bit rougher. Or if it's muddy, we get a bunch of rain, that'll make it a little bit less pleasant. But yeah, I think folks generally have found it fine to use road bikes. Many folks will. It's just being comfortable on that stretch of the Wallkill Valley Rail Trail that is crushed stone, but it is a compacted, crushed stone surface. It's not like loose dirt or loose gravel. Um, a question about e-bike charging. Is that available at camp? Is that at rest stops? Can you speak to that, Rob?
It's at camp, and thought we had a slide about that. We must have not had a
Yeah,
slide.
I don't know what happened
But
there.
yeah, so there's a separate section for e-bike charging at each camp. We set up a couple tents, tables, and a couple generators. They actually have their own generators just to charge that, so we're not drawing off school power or bringing batteries into schools. So each night you'll find the e-bike charging tent. You bring your own charger. You bring your bike over if it's a non-removable battery. If it's a removable battery, you take your battery off and you just plug it in yourself. And we have someone who monitors the tent, but it's really up for you once it's charged to take your battery away.
And we do encourage you to bring it over to get it charging as soon as you get into camp. Let that
Right.
do its thing, because the more batteries we have drawing from it, the slower they may charge. So we don't want you to run out of juice halfway through your ride. Um, so there are some questions about the texting CTHV 26 to access the rained out. Um, if you have questions for tech support that we're unable to get you sorted out with here, come chat with us at the info table. I'll be there, the whole time on day zero. Happy to chat with folks. We will have our tech volunteer, a guy named Charlie Long, who's going to be there as well to be able to help folks, and he'll be able to get you sorted out. But it's real simple. For texting this, the number you text to is just the number 84483. And then the body of the text, the message that you would send is CTHV 26. So that's how the rained out system works. And I believe you will get like a confirmation text once you do that. In fact, I'm gonna do it right now myself just to check. So if you type in 84483 and then you text the word CTHV 26, um, that goes through. And then you get a text message in response that says you have successfully added to your subscription. That I'm subscribed for other of our rides, so this is the first. If this is the first time you're subscribing for it, you may get a slightly different message, but that is the way to do that. Um, a question about the recording or slides being shared. Yes, we will be sharing this out to folks who have not registered. Um, Erica, I'm going to ask a question for you, but give you some time to think about it and come back to it. We have a question about what is a tip you would give to a first-time backpacker? So I'm going to give you a little bit of time to think about that and come back to you in just a minute, because there's a couple of other questions that I think we can get to first. A question about purchasing shuttle tickets during the ride or day of departure. Please purchase your tickets ahead of time. We have limited seats on our shuttles. If you do need to purchase a shuttle ticket, email Julia at cycletours@ptny.org, or you can call us at 518, crap, what's our phone number? 484-1583. That doesn't sound right. Is that on the last slide there, Erica? 434-1583. I don't have to call us at the office too much. 518-434-1583, but generally emailing cycletours@ptny.org is preferred to add a shuttle ticket to your registration, because that's the best way to guarantee that we have a spot for you. A
Uh,
question about, go ahead, Rob.
so there's a question about our restrooms and locker rooms open all night. That varies at the school indoor facilities. If there is indoor camping, yes, they will. Um, Locker rooms usually as well too. But we have at every, we didn't mention this, every campsite we have a fresh bank of porta potties every time. So if you're camping outside, delivered that day are a ton of porta potties you can use. And then each camp we have new porta potties. And then inside, if it's open, if the facility is open at night, yes, you can use the restrooms.
Um, Erica, I'm coming back to you for this question. What is something a first-time bike packer should know?
Yeah, I just put it in the chat too, but I would say make sure you're taking lots of breaks. You know, you're on a bike tour to have fun. So at least every 10 miles, get off the bike, walk around a little bit, eat a snack, drink your water. Take your time and explore the beautiful places you'll be biking through. That's what I would say.
What should a rider know if they are sleeping at a hotel? So basically, if you are sleeping at a hotel during the tour, if you're not sleeping on site, um, the basically what you have to do is you'll need to come get anything that you'll need off of the luggage trucks from camp, and you're responsible for bringing that to your hotel. And then if you want to put anything back on the luggage trucks, you'll need to bring it back to camp in the morning, or carry it with you during the day. If you do need access to a bag that is going to be, t brought on and off the luggage trucks, make sure you're talking to the luggage truck drivers, the luggage truck crew that we'll have there. We do have some volunteers that are help they'll pack the trucks each day. You'll need to be able to lift your bag onto the truck to load it. And they will, they can get it for you. They'll keep it aside so it doesn't get buried under everybody else's luggage. But that is a good thing to know. But yeah, make sure you're communicating with them, if you are going to be sleeping at a hotel, and if it's just for one night, if it's for every night. But you are responsible for getting your stuff from camp to the hotel. A question about air quality. So this is obviously something we had to deal with just last week on Cycle the Erie Canal. Will the tour be canceled if the air quality is unhealthy? Rob, do you want to speak to air quality?
So each day we monitor the air quality, the weather, obviously if there's severe thunderstorms or, some kind of dangerous warning. When we were at Erie, we got into the kind of the mid area. I think we had a 180 particulate day. It was kind of orange. So we left it up to people to kind of decide. We obviously can't shuttle 200 people to the next campsite. Most people, rode. If they had issues, we had N95 masks to give folks. And if it really bothered them, we can get you into a SAG and move you to the next rest stop or move you into camp. Um, no plans to cancel unless, of course, there is a statewide or county ban on being outside. If it reaches that level, obviously we're going to follow what county and state authorities tell us to do. We wouldn't force you to ride in that.
A couple of questions in here about RVs. Are there overnights that don't have RV parking? Are there designated parking areas for RVs or other support vehicles at overnight locations?
No, I mean, you're okay. I mean, we don't have any, there's no
Oh, Rob, we lost you again.
amperage or water. I mean, oh, sorry.
So
You got me back now. I'm
yeah, you're
sorry.
back now. We heard there's no.
Right, I'm sorry. I apologize in a way.
All good.
Um, it's 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 dry camping. Like there's no plug-in, there's no water, there's no sewer. But we have big 26-foot trucks with us, and so there's plenty of room to park your RVs where you need to park them.
A question about riding each day. Is it a group ride? Is it on your own? And it's on your own. You leave at your own leisure. Most folks will leave around 6:30, 7 o'clock. Well, most folks would leave between 7 and 7:30, I'd say, because they hang out, listen to our 6:30 morning briefing, and then when they've got all the information they need for the day, they'll hit the trail at about 7. But you're on your own pace. Sometimes you'll be riding with a big group of people. Sometimes you'll be sort of on your own, and that's what makes a tour like this fun, in my opinion. Um, but yeah, it is ride at your own pace, ride on your own. Um, a couple of things to note on that. It's not a race. If you beat us to camp, your stuff won't necessarily be ready for you. It's a lot of work for our volunteer crews to get camp set up each day. We do not recommend that you try to race and get to the overnight each day. Enjoy the ride, enjoy the places we're riding through, stop in the communities, explore some of the museums, get a great lunch along the way. Make the most out of your time in the Hudson Valley. But also make sure that you're being respectful of other riders, both on our tour and other folks who are using the trail. If you are allowed to pass somebody on the trail, but only if it's safe to do so. You don't have a right to pass every single person. You should be giving folks a chance to make sure that they're able to safely get over to the right before you're trying to pass them. You shouldn't pass if there's anybody coming in the other direction. So it's not a race. Take your time, enjoy yourself. And again, we want to make sure that not only does everybody get to camp safe, but that we're being considerate of the communities that we're riding through, the trails that we're riding on, making sure that everything's safe. A question about hills. How are the hills on Cycle the Hudson Valley compared to the Erie Canal ride? It's definitely a hillier ride. There is a fair amount of climbing each day, about 1,000 to 2,000 feet on any given day. Um, it's generally rolling hills. There's no real steep hills. But yeah, that's sort of the best. A couple of spots. If it's a steep hill, then it's fine to walk it. Again, this is a ride where we welcome all trail users, but it's definitely a hillier ride, but not necessarily something that is, you're not going to be in the Tour de France climbing one of the Pyrenees or the Alps on Cycle the Hudson Valley. This is definitely a ride where it's folks of all ages and abilities. A question about a hybrid or a road bike. What do you recommend? I think generally what you're most comfortable with is probably what's best. Especially if you've got good tires, good sort of hardy tires that are able to handle, either some grass, like some a little bit of like debris on a road surface or a stone dust trail. That's probably going to be your best bet, just making sure that you're safe there. Um, but yeah, that's generally whatever you're the most comfortable on because you're going to be riding 230 miles. So making sure that those 3 points of contact are comfortable. Your feet, your hands, and your butt. That's what spends the most time touching your bike. So making sure that those three are comfortable for you is best. And we do encourage, don't have Cycle the Hudson Valley. Don't show up on Tuesday and have that be the first time that you have been on your bike in a while. Get out and do some practice rides. Make sure that your bike has gotten serviced at your local bike shop before you show up to camp. We do have tour mechanics that are there. They're not going to have as much stuff that they can bring with them in their trailer as your local bike shop will have available for you. So make sure that you're stopping by your local bike shop, ensuring that your bike is all tuned up before you arrive in Troy on the 3rd. Um, Check the ABCs, your air, your brakes, and your chain every morning before you start riding. That's again a way that you can keep riding every day and get to where you need to get during the day. I'll also mention I did see a question about like a packing list, information about the shuttle, things like that. All of that's going to be in our rider handbook. If you've not yet seen our rider handbook, um, absolutely check that out now. We can add the link to that to chat. And that is something that has been in the writer emails we've sent out. If we sort of wrap this up, because it looks like we've got no more open questions. And you've not gotten that, well, that is something that we can send out in the follow-up email as well to make sure that folks have the writer handbook. But thank you, Erica. Just put the link to the writer handbook in chat. There are a lot of questions that were answered in the Q&A just by Rob and Julia going through and typing them out. If you open the Q&A tab and click on the answered, that will have some answers to your things. If you missed the webinar, this has been recorded. We will be sending out the recording to everybody who registered for this webinar or even those who did not register. Everybody who's registered for the tour will get an email with a link to view this recording. So if you missed some of it, if you had to step away for a little bit, we will be sending out the recording to this webinar via email probably later this week. This will probably be Thursday or Friday because PTNY has our office holiday or our office summer outing tomorrow. So we're gonna enjoy that tomorrow, and then we'll be back at work, back at the grind on Thursday. Is Rob gonna get in trouble for his lousy internet? Yes. Rob is actually gonna have to go ride the entire length of the trail back and forth a couple of times just as penance. But I actually think that might be a bonus for him. So
I'd
we are at
enjoy
7 o'clock. We are at 7 o'clock, so we are going to wrap it up here. But thanks, everybody. We're looking forward to having you all join us on Cycle the Hudson Valley. And we'll see you all in Troy on Monday, August 3rd. So thanks, everybody. Happy trails.